Hi friends, welcome to this practice I call Calm Within the Storm. I've sequenced this class in a way that we might pay homage to some of the basics of vinyasa yoga, with a reminder to ourselves that at the heart of things, these practices are an invitation towards self-inquiry and resiliency, so that we might remind ourselves how it is that we can come back to center regardless of the weather that we may be encountering. I invite you to start in a comfortable seat of your choice, and when you're ready, find some height through your spine and close down your eyes and begin to reconnect with the rhythm of your breath. Remind yourself of the life-giving depth of this breath. This source that is with us literally every moment of our life, whether we're thinking of it or not. And what incredible power comes with the tool to begin to resculpt it, to participate with the layers of the breath so that it lengthens and deepens, so that it brings a layer of calm back through our nervous system, so that it reminds us that in the center of any storm, we can find ourselves. If it's available to you, I invite you to start to bring a layer of texture onto your breath, so that you might start to find a soft catch in the base of your throat that will allow the breath to glide in and out of your body, helping to enhance the length that you might find, helping to enhance the focus that you might find. Examine whether it is you are able to find an evenness between your inhale and exhale. And we find this quiet breath at the beginning and the end of practice with this same focused intention, so that we can remind ourselves to keep that same focused attention through the peaks and valleys of practice. In the place where our physical body is challenged or our cardiovascular system is challenged, where the limits of our mind begin to be challenged. And we meet ourselves just like this, working to invite in a full inhale, working to release a full exhale. Much of our yoga practice has found adaptation and evolution and change. And some things from the very heart of it, from the very root of it, has remained the same. You can welcome yourself to keep your hands rested comfortably on your lap, or should it speak to you, lift your hands up towards your heart space in a way that's meaningful to you. As we get going, I would invite you to consider if there is a quality or an intention that you feel connected to and important to draw attention toward as you begin the movement of your practice. And I would like to share the shining words that might really help us keep our layer of focus. When the roots are deep, there's no reason to fear the wind. Let an exhale release your hands if you've lifted them, and crack your eyes open slowly. However it makes sense to you, we're going to come over to hands and knees. Take a wide spread of your fingers, really connecting the inner edges of the hands down to the floor under shoulders. Hips are stacked up over the space of the knees, and with an inhale, roll your heart open, drop your belly. When your exhale comes, push the floor away and round. Find a forward and backward glide on the call of your own breath. And if it feels manageable and appropriate, maybe consider closing your eyes so that you can really allow body and breath to become unified partners. We'll take 2 more entire cycles, really stretching the front of the body with an inhale, really stretching the back side of the body with an exhale. 1 more time. And when your inhale comes next, start to walk your hands a little in front of your shoulders. Turn your toes under behind you. We'll lift up to our first downward facing dog. So we'll try to back off ever so slightly today on all of the over-the-top alignment cues. Find a space where your body feels spacious in every pose. Clear a big breath here. When your exhale comes, walk or take a single step and come to the top of your mat. Bring your feet evenly beneath your hips and inhale your chest up halfway. Make some space from tailbone through to the crown of the head. And then exhale, release down and fold. With an inhale, push through your feet, lift and stretch your arms up. And with an exhale, bring hands down through the center and release to the sides. We'll warm the body with a variation of sun salutation A. I add an extra forward fold to just give us a little bit more time to move intentionally. When our inhale comes, stretch up high. When your exhale comes, take a slow dive down, forward fold. Halfway up with an inhale, heart comes forward. And then take an extra fold with your exhale. Inhale to step back to a plank pose. Knees can be lifted or lowered. And when your exhale comes, release to the mat with control. Cobra pose or up dog, roll your chest open. And then downward facing dog through all fours or hips straight to the sky. Clear a big breath in and a big breath out. When your exhale comes, look to your hands and walk or step to the top. Halfway up when your feet feel steady here. Exhale, release and fold. Arms to the sky with an inhale. Exhale your hands through your heart. Same rhythm once again. Inhale, lift high. Exhale, slow dive, forward fold. Halfway up with an in-breath. Again, a simple fold. Inhale, step back, find a plank pose. Knees can be lifted or lowered. Exhale, release. Use the whole breath to come down to the mat. Inhale, cobra pose or upward facing dog if you'd prefer. And then downward facing dog with your exhale. Again, 1 full body breath here. When your next exhale comes, walk or step to the top of your mat. Come halfway up when you get here. And then exhale and take a fold. Arms to the sky, big in breath. Exhale your hands through your heart. Okay, we'll pick up some rhythm. Inhale, lift high. When your exhale comes, sink into your knees, chair pose. Lift the belly with an in-breath, stretch your sides long. When your exhale comes, dive down, forward fold. Halfway up with an inhale, simple fold with an exhale. Bend knees, plant hands, step all the way back to plank. With knees lifted or lowered, come down with control. Cobra pose or up dog, open your chest. Downward facing dog, we'll take it back. From here, use an inhale, lift your right leg high to the sky. When your exhale comes, step your right foot through to your hands. We'll find a warrior 1 by pivoting our back heel down. Inhale, arms reach up tall. Exhale, both hands come down to frame your front foot. Step back to the length of a plank pose. And exhale, release with control. Cobra pose or up dog. Downward facing dog we go. Inhale, left leg lifts to the sky. Exhale, step your foot through to your hands. Back heel spins for warrior 1. Inhale, lift up high. Exhale all the way back down to frame your front foot. Step back to plank pose. Release with control. Cobra pose or up dog. And then downward facing dog we go. We're going to have 5 breaths here. Wide spread of your hands. Big old tip of your tail. Making some space. Clarifying the breath. Listening to the sound of it. When your exhale comes, look toward your hands, walk or step to the top of your mat. When you get here, lift your chest up halfway. As you exhale, release and fold. Arms to the sky, big in breath. Exhale your hands through your heart. The same again, inhale, lift high. Exhale, sink into your knees, chair pose. Inhale, lift long through your sides, keep the front of the belly lifted. And then exhale, dive down and fold. Halfway up with an in-breath. Simple forward fold. Inhale to step back, plank pose, take your time. Exhale, release with control. Cobra pose or up dog. Downward facing dog we go. Inhale, right leg lifts to the sky. Exhale, step your foot through to your hands, pivot the back heel down for warrior one. Inhale, lift all the way up. And with an exhale, step back to plank pose and lower with control. Cobra pose or up dog. Downward facing dog we go. Inhale, left leg lifts high. Exhale, step your foot through to your hands, pivot the back heel for warrior one. Inhale, arms lift to the sky. Exhale, both hands come down to frame your front foot, step back to plank pose and lower with control. Cobra pose or up dog. Downward facing dog we go. 5 breaths again. Wide spread of your fanned out open hands. Big ol' lift of your tailbone high, like you're pulling the weight of your body back into your legs. And breathe all the way through your lung capacity. We have 2 more. Good. When your exhale comes, look to your hands, walk or step to the top. Inhale, lift your chest up halfway. Exhale, dive and fold. And bring a flex into your knees. Inhale, lift upper body high, chair pose. Lucky you didn't get it on the first round. Good. When your exhale comes, fold again, let it go. Arms to the sky, big in breath. Exhale your hands through your center. Okay, take a tiny second and fix anything from the outside that you feel like you might need to fix. And then drop your fingers down to the sides. Close up your eyes if you feel steady. Feel what you feel. Pause and acknowledge that the lifting of our cardiovascular system, of our muscular system, the clarity that it brings through our mental system, the movement of all of this whirling, swirling stuff, in some ways brings us back to the center of ourself. Feel the rooting of your feet, the lifting of the crown of your head, the full clarity of your breath. Remind yourself, when the roots are deep, there's no reason to fear the wind. Crack eyes open, inhale, lift high. Slow exhale, dive down, forward fold. Halfway up, long in breath. Simple fold, fingertips to support you. Right foot sit-ups back. We're gonna pivot the back heel down for a warrior two. So align it so front heel comes to back heel or back arch. That only comes through self-inquiry and practice. Inhale, lift up really nice and high. Fingertips spread forward and back. Long, strong, straight arms. Deep, committed, strong legs. And the center of the torso holds tight so that we can lift from tailbone through to the crown of the head. Drop back hand to back thigh, flip front palm over, inhale to lift high, peaceful warrior. Keep the work in the legs. If it feels good in your body, you can welcome yourself to lean back. 1 more big breath. Good. When your exhale comes, front elbow down to front thigh, back arm stretches straight up out of the shoulder, or maybe you like to track it over your top ear. Again, keep the work in the legs, the lift of the belly to support this, the rolling open of your chest. Good. With an inhale, arrive back to warrior two. Stay for a breath. And then when your exhale comes, take the bend out of the front knee. Keep your feet committed, hug your inner thighs so you can start to move your hips back. This will lengthen upper and lower side waist. And then cartwheel to a space where you can draw your upper body toward your front shin. This front hand should be light. It's not structural. It's just allowing us to start to cartwheel this way. Draw strength into your center and roll your chest open. We have 1 more. Good. With an inhale, pick upper body back up. And with an exhale, hands onto the hips. We're going to turn all 10 toes to the long edge of the mat. The outer blade edges of your feet can ride parallel, or you might even choose to give yourself a very subtle pigeon toe, heels a little bit wider. Inhale to lift your chest up. And then exhale, find a slow bow. When you feel the back of the legs, reach down for the floor. You can leave your fingertips right under your shoulders, or if you like, walk your hands back in between your feet so fingertips and tips of toes align. Hug your elbows toward one another like you do when you're in chaturanga, and release the crown of the head to the floor. So you'll start to feel this glorious, spacious stretch from your heels all the way up to the back of your sit bones. 1 more big breath. Good. With an inhale, lift your gaze. We're going to look up toward the left foot and walk into a pivot. I would love you to lay your back heel down at about a 45 angle degree and then squeeze your front leg towards straight into a variation of pyramid. Hug your left hip crease back, your right hip point forward. Lengthen out through your low spine and then round your upper back as you bow over this front leg for one more big breath. Good. When your exhale comes, a big bend into your left knee, push through this foot and step to the top. Halfway up when you get here. Exhale, let it go. Arms to the sky, big, full in breath. Exhale your hands through your center. Same again. Inhale, lift high. Exhale, slow dive. Halfway up with an inhale and a simple fold. Fingertips to support you, left foot back. Back heel drops for warrior two. Front heel to back arch and lift in an open cartwheel. If you feel you need to heel toe anything about the alignment of your feet around, please do, and then settle into your own strength. Send your gaze out right in front of you. It might ride all the way across the center of your middle finger. And give a little bit of relief to the palate of your upper back, so we're softening shoulders down out of ears. Backhand to back thigh, front palm flips. Let's lift this to the sky, peaceful warrior. Again, keep the heat in the legs. Breathe here, one more big breath all the way out to the edges. And with an exhale, front elbow to front thigh, back arm up over the top ear, or maybe just stretch straight up out of your shoulder. You could, of course, take extra work out of the shoulder with hand to the hip, no problem. One more big breath. Go with an inhale, return to warrior two. And with an exhale, take the bend out of the front knee. We start to pivot the whole body to a variation of triangle pose. Legs are strong, pulling strength into the seat of the pelvis, helping us to lengthen out through the spine. Draw the breath in, equal and full. One more. Good. With an inhale, lift upper body back up. And with an exhale, hands to the hips. All 10 toes spin to the long edge of the mat. Lengthen up through your spine and your chest with an inhale. And then bow through your hip crease with an exhale and fold. When you feel the backs of the legs, go ahead and reach for the floor. Hands can either stay under the shoulders or walked back into alignment with the toes, really lengthening crown of the head down as sit bones lift high. And breathe here, one more deep, long, full breath. Now with an inhale, lift your gaze. Walk into a pivot toward the right foot until all 10 toes face the front. Drop back heel down at about a 45 angle degree and then squeeze your right leg towards straight, hugging your right hip point back, left hip point forward. Lengthen out through the space of your low back, and then if it pleases you, bow over the front leg. Breathe into the place that feels sticky, reminding yourself that this is the source. This is the root we come back to again and again and again. Good. This time, when your exhale comes, bend through your front knee, plant your hands down, and step back to the length of a plank pose. When your exhale comes, release with control. When your inhale comes, roll your chest open. Exhale, draw back, downward facing dog. Good. Look toward your hands and use an exhale to walk or to step toward the top of the mat. Come halfway up when you get here. And then exhale and let this go. Arms to the sky, big, slow in breath. Exhale your hands through your heart. Keep them here. If you're steady, close your eyes. Remind yourself. When the roots are deep, there's no reason to fear the wind. Cracking eyes open. Consider bringing your feet a little bit more narrow. I like inside hip distance. If you love the traditional stance, big toes touching is also pleasing to many people. Stand up tall through the crown of your head and transfer your weight down to your left foot. A slight bend to your right knee, so we de-weight the right leg. Opening right knee out toward the right side, and then maybe stepping this foot up away from the floor into inner ankle, into inner calf, or potentially all the way up into inner thigh. I would love if you didn't stand on the inside edge of your knee joint. Push everything into center and grow. Trust the root of your standing foot, and maybe inspire some branches. And breathe here long and full, reminding yourself of the source of breath. So we're holding the pose, not holding the breath. And when your exhale comes, hands come back down into center, and we step our foot to the floor. Readjust so you can feel the rooting of both feet again as you mindfully move weight over toward the right foot. A soft bend in the left knee and an openness. And you're stepping up and away, choosing a place where it feels sustainable, pushing everything into center, growing up from that center, maybe finding branches. Remind yourself the way that this left thigh bone externally opens. Stare at something that doesn't move. Feed the pose with breath. One more. And when your exhale comes, hands come down through the center of the heart, stepping your feet back toward the floor. Bring feet out to a place, again, they're an inner hip distance. Use an inhale to lift the upper body high. And when your exhale comes, squat into your knees, find a chair pose. We're going to bring this into a balance too, so you're going to transition weight back over into your left foot, and if possible, you're going to lift and cross right leg over left. Keep the belly lifted, so there is a support here, and you can remain with arms reaching up toward the sky, or use an exhale to tuck left elbow under right and find an eagle arm variation. You could also hook fingers or just leave fingertips open. If you can wrap the hands, draw yourself into the depth of your legs. Keep your belly lifted, and then tip your forearms forward, lifting your eagle high. Breathe here, one more. Good, unwrap the arms. With an inhale, come stand tall, root through your feet. Exhale, hands through your center. Same again. Look down to your feet, make sure they haven't strayed. An inside hip distance or even big toes all the way touching. Inhale, lift high. Exhale, back into a soft chair pose. Keep the strength of your belly lifted, transfer your weight over to your right foot. Try to cross left knee over right. Some of us can hook the toes. Some of us will find that we're just trying to zipper the legs together. You can keep your arms lifted or use an exhale to wrap right under left. Maybe or maybe not, the eagle bind is here. Sitting into the work, fly the eagle, tip your forearms forward. Remember to breathe. Eagles are flying on the coursing wind. Inhale to come stand tall. Exhale, hands into the heart. Let's find a rhythm to bring us back toward earth. Feet back out under hips. Inhale, arms high. Exhale, slow dive, forward fold. Take your time. Halfway up with an in-breath. Simple forward fold. Bend knees, plant hands, step back to plank. And with an exhale, let's come down one more time. Cobra pose or up dog. Downward facing dog is where we'll meet. From this downward dog, we're going to move into our pigeon pose. If that is not a kind posture for your body, over the layers of your self-inquiry through practice, I would invite you to come down onto your back body and take a thread the needle number 4 in a reclined position instead. With an inhale, right leg's going to lift high. With an exhale, right knee moves its way to the outer edge of right wrist, and we can settle into the tenderness of our hips. I always recommend that the knee comes wide because it allows us to really neutralize the pelvis so it's facing forward. Less important if your sit bone is drawn right to the floor. Less important if your shin is drawn right up to the front edge of the mat. More important that we're trying to get a balance of the pelvis. Then let yourself decide if you want to shimmy this back leg further back. If you're in a body that you want to lower down onto forearms or elbows, all of those things are fair game. Breathe into your own spaciousness for 5. With an inhale, let's come back up onto hands, wide spread of your fingers down, really opening the inner palms of the hands. Tuck your back toe and lift your right leg back high to the sky. You might even be inspired to bend the knee and open the hip or take a big hip circle. When you're ready to, you'll lower the right foot back to the mat. Same thing on the other side. Of course, same invitation to take this on your back. And if you are taking these on your back, go ahead and release in any way that feels appropriate to you and change sides. Left leg lifts high. Exhale, left knee to the outside edge of left wrist, drawing the pelvis toward neutrality at the front edge of the mat. So it's as though we're trying to take our hip points and draw them into a level. You can welcome yourself to any shimmying of this front shin, tucking the back toe to move the whole back femur bone and pelvis around. Settle into something that feels comfortable to you. You can stay high onto hands. You can lower down to forearms. You can definitely put blocks or props or bolsters into any place that might feel comforting and supportive. And breathe here. And the source of your breath, again, will tell you a lot. So notice if it's sticky anywhere, if it's shortened, if it feels as though some over-the-top sensation in your body is taking every source of it. Allow this to be information to you. Breathe one more, deep and full. One more time, let's come back up onto our hands, wide spread of your hands. Push down as you tuck the back toe under and lift the left leg high to the sky. If it feels good, bend the knee and open the hip, or even take a big hip circle. And then lower your toes back to the mat. One big inhale to decompress the spine, lift your tail high. And when your exhale comes, lower your knees to the earth, sweep feet away. And we're going to come all the way down onto our buns. Draw yourself forward toward the top edge of the mat. So legs can be long outstretched. And you might even decide to pull a little bit of flesh away so you can feel the rooting of your seat. Lift up tall through a variation of our staff pose. And if you like, use your fingertips for support of your spine as you lift up tall to the crown of the head and attempt to soften your shoulders down. Big full breath here. And then find further softness through the spine. We're going to begin to bend the left knee. Keep right leg long. Lift up long through the base of the low back. Attempt to keep that if you can. I like to inhale and stretch my arms high first. And with an exhale, bend over the extension of your right leg. Now, if you're in a body that you really love to use the support of your hands, hooking fingers onto your toes, onto your pants, onto your ankle, go ahead. But see if you can continually, lovingly lengthen through the space of the low back as you surrender the upper back, the neck, the shoulders. Breathe into the space that you are creating for yourself for 3. Good. With an inhale, lift fingertips high, stretch back up. And with an exhale, swim down to the sides. And we're just going to take a simple change. Left leg long, right knee bends, rerouting through the sit bones, lifting up through the spine. Inhale, arms high. And exhale, slow bow. You might find, as most of us do, that right side and left side do not feel exactly the same. Sometimes there is a freedom, and sometimes we find more limitation. And this is the truth of being inside a ever-changing human body. Honor where you are and deepen the breath so that you come back to the source and the root of practice again and again and again. One more here. And inhale, lift high. Exhale, swim down. And both legs long. Just a couple of breaths here in a good old double leg forward fold. Lift up tall back to the space of staff pose where we were just moments ago. Inhale, arms lift high, and exhale, hinge through your hip crease and bring your whole body forward. Again, just notice. So to the best of our ability, we're trying to lengthen the low back and give release to the neck and the upper back. It doesn't matter if the upper body ever folds to actually connect with the lower body. This isn't really going to give us much into the pursuit of happiness and sustainability in life, but it can teach us a lot about our inner motivations and our ego when we come to poses where it really starts to lengthen physical spaces of the body or challenge them. Inhale, lift the chest, lift your fingers, lift your gaze if it feels good. And then exhale, swim down. We're going to meet on our back body, so make sure you have room for yourself and lower on down. When you get onto your back, if you need to stretch out or hug in or do any of those things that might help you release muscles of your back, do. And then walk your feet back onto the floor with your knees bent, and we'll set our heels back behind our sit bones in a way that feels true. So as though you're stepping your ankles right under your knees For some of us, we can't draw them too close to the back of our sit bones, otherwise we're not going to be in alignment anymore of knees over ankles. And then press your hands down to the floor at or beyond your hips, so your whole arm bone is long, and you can plug from the tip of your shoulder down to the palm of your hand. Keep your upper back pressing and all four corners of both your feet pressing, and when your inhale comes, lift your hips up off the ground with the squeeze of your legs and your glutes in your center. This in no way should flatten the back of the neck, so we want to push the back of the head down and the shoulders down so we keep this neutral, beautiful curve at the space of the back of our neck. And keep rooting through your feet so that you can feel this beautiful lift of your hips high. For those of us very comfortable here, you might decide to thread your fingers together beneath you and walk the palate of the upper back in underneath you so you have a higher surface of the upper back to create a little bit more spaciousness through the spine. That may or may not be warranted, so check out how it feels as you go. It should no way change your breath. Last full breath here, wherever we are. And then with an exhale, let go of your hands if you've bound them, lower down slow. When you get your hips to reconnect, it might feel really nice to hug your knees in towards you. And you might really be drawn toward rocking or swaying. Again, I don't want to speed you up or slow you down, but when you're ready, your feet will find the floor again. Open your arms really wide to the sides in a capital T. I'm going to lift and cross my right leg over my left. And then using the left foot, pop your hip a little bit over to the right so both your knees can fall together in a twisted root twist to the left. Right away, your body will probably begin to speak to you. If it does not feel good to have the knees crossed, uncross, please, right away. If you come into a twist and regularly decide that you like to prop the twist, that is a really good idea. So if you want something under the knees, or in the case of uncrossing between them, welcome that. And then see what you can do for 3 breaths to really release the musculature of your upper back and your arms. Any squeeze that will hide in your hands or your jaw. Deepen your breath for 2 more. Inhale, lift your knees back up through center. Uncross anywhere along the path that's helpful. Repivot the hips beneath you. Cross left over right. And I like to use my right foot to move my hip to the left. Both knees will fall together to the right side. The same arrangement when you get here might not serve you. So taking some inner inventory and using that wisdom of your self-inquiry, decide if you need change here, if you need support, if a different place within you tends to react. And what can you do to welcome that softness back through the pose? What can you do to offer that layer of presence and that full expansion of your breath? When your inhale comes, lift your knees back up through center. Use your feet to help you re-guide the hips right in beneath your shoulders, and it might feel lovely to hug in again. It might feel the best to just honor a moment to be still here. You might like to stir circles around the base of your spine. You might really enjoy the openness of your hips in happy baby once more. Or maybe you'll do as I am, hold your hands back behind your thigh bones, kick the soles of the feet to the sky so you can press the muscles of your low back into the mat and take one more big breath. And when your exhale comes, rebend your knees, stretch out over the mat in a way that feels true to you. Grab onto any layer of creature comfort that you know you love. So if you like to take Savasana with a pillow, with a blanket, with the replacing of your socks or your sweater, please do. And then meet me for just a moment or so of release. So we can let the work of the physicality of the practice and the work that comes through the balancing of our nervous system really settle. Soften down through the breath until you might be able to find the release of that too. Your breath will support you whether or not you're thinking of it, so come to a space where you can trust that it will move just as it needs to. And if in your experience at this time, it might serve you to take an audible breath in through the nose and out through softened lips, please do. And enjoy a moment just to settle. Draw a big breath into the center of you. And let it go to the very bottom. Send a tiny glimmer of awareness down the length of your limbs into fingers and toes. Letting that course back up through wrists and ankles and maybe all the way through the spine to the crown of the head. If you require a bigger stretch, allow the body to stretch out long and then bend your knees so your feet can find the floor and you can roll to right side or left. Cradle your head for a breath and take a moment to just take an inner inventory of body and mind and heart. Bring anything meaningful with you back up into your final seat. Press a free hand into the floor and rise. Sit in any way that is comfortable to you when you come back. Let your hands rest to your lap, or if it speaks to you, lift hands up towards your heart space, either overlapped or pressing together. When the roots are deep, there is no reason to fear the wind. May we find a capacity to trust in ourselves, trust in the tools of our practice, and to access them in truth in the moments that we need them. On the mat, to be sure, but even more importantly, in the greater practice off the mat. Thank you for being here to share this practice with me. Namaste.